Hello and welcome back to the channel. On the 18th of October, Jupiter will move into the sign of Cancer before going retrograde and moving back into the sign of Gemini on the 5th of December. So this is just a short transit of under 2 months. Now, Cancer is a very emotional and sensitive sign. It is a sign that prioritizes family and home, and this is a sign where Jupiter is also exalted, which means that it feels very comfortable here, and you can feel some positive emotions in the house where Cancer is sitting. Now, as this is a short transit, the results can be quite subtle or positive, but in a short or small way. So you can feel a sense of safety and security in the house where Jupiter is transiting, and also, Jupiter will aspect Saturn when it is in Cancer. So for some of you, there will be opportunities to find extra work if that is something that you are looking for. And if Saturn is causing some challenges in your life, Jupiter will provide that extra support to you. So let's go through a preview of the predictions for each zodiac sign for this short transit. For Aries natives, Jupiter will move into your 4th house in the sign of Cancer on the 18th of October. So this is a position where Jupiter is very comfortable because it is in its exaltation house and exaltation sign, so there can be some really good results. So how is 2025 going for you, my Aries friends? Especially if you are an Aries moon sign, let me know in the comment section how 2025 is treating you. Now, this transit of Jupiter in Cancer will be barely scratching the surface before going retrograde back into Gemini. So this is a very short transit. So it's kind of a little bit like a preview of what to expect when Jupiter transits fully into Cancer next year. But this 2-month transit, you may feel a little bit of a difference in your life. So when Jupiter is in the 4th house, or it transits the 4th house, you'll be happier in your mind. You'll feel more in control of your emotions, which means that you'll be able to cope and manage any challenging situations that you may be facing. Now, the 4th house is your domestic life, which includes your relationship with your family. It includes your daily activities in your home, and it's basically where you are living. Jupiter will bring happiness where you are living. Now, because this is a short transit, it could be that you move somewhere else temporarily for a while where you're feeling comfortable and peaceful. So for example, moving back to your country of origin or your home city for a few months, or you might be staying at a friend's place while they are away. So kind of like house sitting. And because Jupiter is still transiting in Purnavasu Nakshatra, it will be like a cycle where you stay somewhere for a short time before moving back again. So strong chances of that happening. If you are stable wherever you are living, Jupiter here can show redecorating your house. So you might paint the walls, you might change the wallpaper, you could get something fixed in your house, and overall your living arrangements will be more comfortable. If you are renting a place, this is a time the landlord can also fix any issues at the place where you are living. And overall, this is a time where you can receive some positive news wherever you are staying. Jupiter is also aspecting your 12th house, and it is aspecting Saturn. So now, if you are following transits from the moon, you are going through the first stage of Sarasati. So this aspect on Saturn will reduce any obstacles that you may be facing. So you'll be able to find solutions to any challenges which Saturn may be causing. So there can be temporary relief. During this short period, your expenses can also be very high, and you'll spend on your desires. So this is a time where you may want to feel some temporary excitement and comfort. And this is a time where you may spend to cope with any stress or boredom that you may be facing. So you do have to watch out how you are spending money during this period, and you need to try and adopt more healthier coping mechanisms rather than any impulsive purchases. The aspect on the 8th house and 12th house also shows that traveling is possible, so going somewhere on a short vacation which can have a positive impact on your mind. So for example, you might visit somewhere which has good memories for you, because the sign of Cancer is to do with memories. And this is a time you can also travel with your mother as well. When Jupiter transits the 4th house and Cancer is a very caring sign. So this transit, you have to learn to care for yourself and look after your mental and physical integrity. So for example, if you're suffering from any health related issues, this can be a time of healing. This is a time for focusing on a healthy lifestyle, incorporating activities that bring you joy. And the 4th house is also your mother. So this is a time where you may have to take care of your mother or someone in your family or someone you are living with. So that was a short preview of what to expect when Jupiter transits into Cancer for a few months. I will make a more detailed video when Jupiter transits fully into Cancer next year. For Taurus natives, Jupiter will transit into the sign of Cancer, which is in your 3rd house. So the 3rd house Jupiter transit is not too bad at all, in my opinion. So Jupiter here will be exalted in the sign of Cancer. So this is a very good time for self-employed people, those that run their own business, and a very good time for hobbies and startups. And when Jupiter transits the 3rd house, it's also a very good time to start a knowledge-based business if it is supported in your natal chart. Now, this is just a short transit before Jupiter retrogrades back into the sign of Gemini on the 5th of December. But as far as this transit is concerned, the 3rd house is a learning house. So it is, in fact, one of the first learning houses. So during this period, you can learn something very worthwhile. So if you have a business or you're thinking about starting something, this is a period where you can get some very good ideas. This is also a very good time to learn professional skills, because Jupiter is aspecting Saturn. So you can learn something which can boost your employability. And with things like AI replacing a lot of the jobs, you can use this opportunity to diversify your skill set, making you more versatile and giving you more optimism and confidence. So it is a good time to enhance your career's prospects. So you can do like a short course or a beginner's course related to what you're interested in. The 3rd house represents being flexible and adaptable. And Taurus people then tend to be a little bit stubborn, generally speaking. So they don't really want to change their ways. They prefer stability and they prefer to stay as they are. So for you to make the most of this transit, you need to be able to show less resistance and change and embrace change a little bit better, because if you can be more open to situations, then it will open up more opportunities for you. Opportunities for relationships, because Jupiter is aspecting your 7th house. So if you can be less rigid, then it will help your relationships. The aspect on the 9th house can show opportunities to travel and further your life. And this travel you can also learn a lot from this travel. And the aspect on the 11th house means that if you can be more flexible and be more open to meeting people, you can form more meaningful connections and build a larger network circle. The 3rd house also represents thinking and decision making. So when Jupiter is here, mentally you can be very busy. So in October and November time, you may feel like you have lots on your plate, lots of projects, lots to think about, and decisions that need to be made. So being organized is very important here. Having some boundaries so you do not feel overwhelmed. And finally, when Jupiter transits a house, it's a time where you need to learn something related to the house. So communication is a big thing here in the third house. The sign of Cancer is an empathetic communicator. So this is a good time to be an active listener. This is a time to communicate without any judgment. So this transit will be good for those who are counselors, psychologists, and even teachers or consultants, where you are fostering a connection rather than just communicating. So that was just a short preview of what to expect when Jupiter transits into Cancer for a few months. I will make a more detailed video once Jupiter transits into Cancer again next year. For Gemini natives, Jupiter will transit into your second house in the sign of Cancer. So this is a short transit of only a couple of months before Jupiter retrogrades back into the sign of Gemini on the 5th of December. So the second house is obviously about money, and for those who are hoping for a bit of optimism in their finances, you will hopefully be able to get some joy here. Now, Jupiter is a generous planet, so this transit can help you increase the value of your assets or bank balance. So for example, you could spend money on your assets to increase your assets, so buying a house is possible during this time. And if you already have a house, then the value of your house can go up, so the equity in your home can go up. It can be something small, such as, if you have any stock or shares, you can cash them in and you can also make a profit here. So it can be something one-off, since this transit is only for a few months. So this is like a preview of what to potentially expect when Jupiter has a more complete transit in the sign of Cancer next year. Now, from the second house, Jupiter will influence all the Artha Trikona houses, which are your 2nd, 6th, and 10th. So your career can experience a temporary boost. So because Jupiter is in Purnavasu Nakshatra, this is a time you can temporarily act or cover someone in a higher position. So you may get that opportunity for a few months. So that could be another reason which increases your finances. So this is especially for Gemini moon sign. So hopefully, you get a financial boost here. So let me know in the comment section or send me a message if in October, November you get a small or large financial boost. Now, Cancer is an emotional sign, and Jupiter is very good here. So you'll feel a sense of security and safety in terms of your finances. So you'll be more protective of your money, because Cancer is a protective sign. So as I mentioned, this transit is only for a few months, where your sense of financial security can be enhanced. And if money is giving you that safety net, then this transit will also give you a higher sense of overall well-being. Because obviously when people have more money, they feel more secure. Now, if you don't get a financial boost, this transit of Jupiter can also show, as I mentioned, being protective of your money, or using your money to help others. So providing financial support to someone in your family, maybe using your money to care for them, basically. So this can be a time some of you will find better ways to, maybe manage your wealth. Are you getting the most growth out of your money? So this is about changing something with your finances, maybe cutting out wasteful expenditure. The second house also represents your personal values, and Cancer is associated with a protective and caring nature, as we talked about before. So this is a time where you may feel more of an empathetic and caring attitude towards your family, or you may have to look after someone in your family. So you might have to, for example, take care of your partner, because Jupiter is ruling your 7th house. The sign of Cancer, it represents memories. So this is a time where you may find yourself in a familiar place from the past, or revisiting events from the past. So you could visit your home country or your home city, and you can feel somewhat sentimental. There could be, tangible items which you come across that carry some sort of weight of cherished memories. So keep a lookout for that. So that was just a short preview of what to expect when Jupiter transits into Cancer on the 18th of October. So I will make a more detailed video next year when Jupiter makes a fuller transit into the sign of Cancer. For Cancer natives, Jupiter will transit into your first house on the 18th of October. So this will be a short transit till the 5th of December before Jupiter goes retrograde back into your 12th house. This short transit of Jupiter is good in the first house. It is exalted in your sign. So Cancer natives, how is the year treating you so far? How is 2025 going? Especially if you are a Cancer moon sign person, let me know in the comment section how things are going. So I do feel like I don't say enough good things about Cancer moon sign people, but this Jupiter transit in the first house, albeit it's only for a few months at the moment, it is excellent. So hope it can bless you with some positive results that you are after. Now, the first house is a very independent house. It is the house of self. And when Jupiter transits here, you have to learn to be a bit more independent. You have to be prepared to take the lead and be in control of your own life. So in this short period, you'll feel like you have to do everything yourself. So you'll be busy, you'll be mentally busy. But once you start embracing this opportunity to be independent, you'll gain so much confidence and self-esteem, which will help you whenever you want to start something new in your life, because the first house is also about starting new things. And Jupiter will go into Cancer again next year. So that could well be the time period where, you are ready for a new stage in your life. But if you are already an independent person, then you will enjoy this transit of Jupiter in Cancer. And Jupiter is a very beneficial planet. So while you need to do things yourself, in the background, there will be resources and support of other people. The first house is about starting something new. It can be about moving outside of your comfort zone. It's about pushing your boundaries a little bit and doing something which can foster personal growth and development. So in other words, it's about, growing your life. So here with this Jupiter transit in the first house, you will feel like you want to do something, go somewhere, start something new in order to create opportunities in your life. So for example, if you want to move somewhere overseas, this is a time where you may go and scope out the place, because this is only a short transit. So you might go and have a look and see if you may want to move there in the future. This transit is more about, having that preview, having a preliminary look, or doing something temporarily for a short time before deciding if you want to fully invest in it. Now, from the first house, Jupiter will aspect Saturn with its 9th aspect, which will provide you a temporary boost in your career. So it could be that you get a short-term opportunity to work somewhere, maybe somewhere higher up, which will obviously boost your confidence, and you will also get any support from seniors that may have been lacking earlier on in the year. This is also a time where you may find a work opportunity abroad. So you could go abroad for a couple of months, and that could be the reason why, you have to be independent, because you might be away from family. If you do come across any potential short-term opportunity, I do encourage you to consider taking it, because this Jupiter in the first house is excellent. This transit is also better for relationships because Jupiter is aspecting your 5th house, 7th house, and the sign of Pisces. So for a couple of months, it should be good, where you may be able to connect with someone if you're single, or your existing relationship will be better. And just generally, there'll be more optimism in your life. If you're single, here you can also have a short-term relationship with someone. So that was just a short preview of what to potentially expect during this short transit. I will make a more detailed video next year when Jupiter does a more complete transit in the sign of Cancer. But I hope this short transit provides you an improvement in your circumstances in your life. For Leo natives, Jupiter will transit into your 12th house in the sign of Cancer on the 18th of October. So at the moment, Jupiter is in your 11th house, and this is a good transit. But if we look at the other major planetary energies, Ketu, Rahu and Saturn, they are not in ideal houses. And now when Jupiter moves into the 12th house, it does feel comfortable. It is also exalted, but it doesn't always give the type of results that people always want. So with this 12th house transit, this is a good time to buy a house, because Cancer, it represents the natural 4th house, which is your home. So if you're looking to move, then, this is a time where, although you may not buy a place during this short transit, because this is just a transit for around 2 months before Jupiter goes retrograde back into Gemini. But here you can do the preliminary work, such as getting your mortgage approved, viewing properties, and getting an idea of what you are looking for. And with K2 in your first house, it is destabilizing your life, which can mean there's a good chance of moving. Jupiter in the 12th house in Cancer can also show renovating a property, so you can do some work in your existing house to make it more comfortable, because the 12th house, it represents comfort. So if you are not comfortable in your home, you may get the necessary work done during this period. You may buy furniture or somehow make the place more cozy. So this transit is about making yourself feel comfortable in your mind where you are living, especially if you are a Leo moon sign. This transit of Jupiter is also very good for healing, and it can show surgery. So any chronic illnesses you have, this is a time you can explore treatment options. And as I mentioned, this is just a short transit, so it's not necessarily you will have to have the treatment right now, but it's more about going to see the specialist and maybe putting your name on the waiting list, so that when Jupiter does transit Cancer again next year, you can get the healing that you require. Now, Jupiter is ruling your 5th house, so here the 5th house lord will be in the 12th house. So what this means is that you will find yourself devoting a lot of time to 5th house matters, where you don't really get too much of a return. So for example, if you have children, you'll find yourself devoting a lot of time towards them. And this position is excellent for creative matters. So for designers, painters, illustrators, this is very good, and your imagination can soar. And this is also very good for writers that write fiction or romantic novels, because your Saturn is in the sign of Pisces. And finally, Jupiter will aspect Saturn as well. And Saturn is currently transiting in your 8th house. So there will be something changing in your workplace during these few months. So this aspect on Saturn can cause a temporary break in your job, or this could be a time where you may take, unpaid leave, or you may even change the location of your work, or you may get a new job. So if you are a Leo moon person, let me know in the comment section how your career is going so far in 2025. The 12th house transit is about growing spiritually. Through difficult moments, it will make you examine yourself, your actions, and it's an opportunity to learn from experiences. So there could be certain beliefs that you have held in the past, and this transit will make you think about letting them go. The 12th house is a very pure house, so there's no discrimination, there's no ego. So this is an opportunity to change yourself a little bit and understand that we are all together as one on this planet. So that was just a short preview of what to expect during the few months Jupiter transits the sign of Cancer. But I will make a more detailed video next year when Jupiter completes a fuller transit into the sign of Cancer. For Virgo natives, Jupiter will move into your 11th house in the sign of Cancer on the 18th of October. So the 11th house in Cancer, Jupiter will be exalted here, and with Saturn and Rahu already in good houses, you can expect this short transit to yield some positive results. So this transit will only be for a couple of months before Jupiter retrogrades back into your 10th house, which again isn't a bad transit. So 2025 so far should have given you some positive results related to your career if you are a Virgo moon sign person. So let me know in the comment section how your career is going this year. So now this Jupiter transit, this is a time some of you could be doing the preparation work in order to get married. So if you are with someone, you might be deciding on the date, the venue, decorations, and whatever else you need to decide if you are getting married. And marriage could happen during this short window, or it could be next year when Jupiter transits into Cancer again. So there is a window of opportunity here. If you are not with anyone, then during this transit, it is possible to meet someone and form a connection. And Saturn is in your 7th house, and it is good, and it is your 5th house lord as well. So you can come across a more mature person, an older person, and someone who is also very intelligent. So, but with Saturn, there's always some work required if you form any relationship. But definitely Jupiter in the 11th house and aspecting your 5th and 7th house is creating the opportunities to meet people. This transit is also very good for career and business. So I mentioned, career should be good. And it could be that you find a short-term promotion opportunity. Like, for example, you might cover your boss and you'll get paid, extra money. So throughout 2025, there will be positive opportunities to change your job because three of the planets are in great positions. But Jupiter's transit in the 11th house can show a temporary increase in your earnings. So, for example, if you work in retail, you might do lots of overtime, and that will increase your earnings. Cancer is a sign of emotions and happiness. So with Jupiter in excellent condition here, in the 11th house, you'll experience some fulfillment of desires. So I talked about marriage earlier and the potential for short-term relationships. This is also a time where you can emotionally connect with people in your network circle. You might deepen your connection with a friend, talk about vulnerabilities, and open up to them, or they may open up to you. The sign of Cancer is the natural 4th house, and therefore it can represent your mother or it can represent family members. So when Jupiter is here in the 11th house, it's a time where your family can feel like friends, or your friends can feel like family. So, this may be a period where you may spend significant time with your friends and, doing activities or going traveling, and, they can really feel like family. If your desire is to find a property, this is also a good time where you might do the preliminary work. So you might get a loan approved, you might go to viewings, and you'll be able to form an idea of what you're looking for. So with Jupiter in the 11th house, especially in an exalted condition, it will bring you a lot of peace and comfort, especially if you are someone who is driven by your desires. The 11th house is about innovation, which basically means embracing change or finding new ways of doing things. So here, if you look at Jupiter's aspects on the 3rd, 5th, and 7th houses, it means that you can be innovative in these areas. So for example, the third house, it represents your business. If it represents being self-employed. So here, you can ask yourself, what can you do better? What can you do differently in your business? The aspect on the seventh house can be about finding, new and original ways to connect, surprise, or delight your partner, introducing novelty into your relationship. So, hope that makes sense. For Libra natives, Jupiter will transit into your 10th house in the sign of Cancer from the 18th of October, before going retrograde back into the sign of Gemini on the 5th of December. So this is a position where Jupiter is naturally debilitated, but in the sign of Cancer, Jupiter is exalted. Now, because this is just a short transit, this can show a temporary enhancement in your socio-economic status, which can happen through finding another job or finding a second job. So there's a strong indication of a second job here, with the positions of K2 in your 11th house and Saturn in your 6th house, which are good positions, especially Saturn in the 6th house, for finding employment. Jupiter is also aspecting Saturn, so if you don't find another job, this 2-month transit in the sign of Cancer can show your responsibilities at your workplace can increase. Jupiter is ruling your 3rd house, which represents your hobbies, and this transit in the 10th house can show that you might decide to turn a hobby into a business. So for example, if you do some kind of baking, if you bake cakes or cookies or something like that, so you may come across someone who wants to buy them. Cancer being ruled by the moon, it represents hospitality. So for those who work in the restaurant business, or if you have like a restaurant business or like a coffee shop, this transit will be beneficial. Or if you want to start a cooking type of business, then it is also beneficial. And with Saturn also in a water sign, you can also do a catering type of business or anything to do with liquids, but it has to be supported in your natal chart. Jupiter is the planet of learning and knowledge, so this transit in the 10th house can also show doing some kind of a short course, because this transit is only for 2 months, or some kind of learning to enhance your career prospects. Or it can be a time where you gain some kind of practical or theoretical knowledge from someone, which can help your career. Jupiter is a planet which can show leadership, so just like the Sun and the Mars. So it doesn't matter which level your role is. With Jupiter here, you may have to be the leader of some of the tasks that you do. So Jupiter will put you in a position where not only you have the responsibility, but also the accountability. So while Jupiter is exalted, in the 10th house, you will kind of be in the spotlight, and some of you may enjoy that. When Jupiter transits the 10th house, it means that your responsibilities will increase. So from the 10th house, you can see that it aspects the 2nd, 4th, and 6th houses, which means that responsibilities can increase with respect to these houses. So for example, the aspect on the 2nd house, this can show increase in family or financial responsibilities. The aspect on the 4th house can show an increase in domestic responsibilities, and the 6th house can show health-related responsibilities. Now, Saturn is already transiting your 6th house, so you should be taking care of your diet and, the food that you consume, especially if you are a Libra moon sign person. So with Jupiter's aspect here, it shows that, possibly you need to make some changes to what you are eating. The 10th house represents happiness from relationships. So always look at the house which Jupiter is 4th from, which is the 7th house here. So you can get some joy from 7th house matters. So this could be from, any agreements or contracts. It could be in relationships, and generally other people that you come across. So that was a short analysis of Jupiter's short transit in the sign of Cancer. I will make a more detailed video when Jupiter enters Cancer again next year. For Scorpio natives, Jupiter will transit into your 9th house in the sign of Cancer on the 18th of October. So this is just a short transit till the 5th of December before Jupiter retrogrades back into the sign of Gemini. But the 9th house is a great house for Jupiter, and the sign of Cancer is also the natural exaltation sign. So overall, this should be a positive couple of months as far as 9th house matters are concerned. So this one transit may not change your life, but it will hopefully bring some improvement. The 9th house, it represents the future. So with this transit, it will open up some opportunities for you to significantly improve your life. So if you are a Scorpio moon person especially, think about what you can do to grow your life. Think about what you want to do and work towards that. Now, as I mentioned, this is just a short transit, but this is a time to think and envisage a future that you can work towards. So this transit is about doing that initial work. So for example, if you are struggling in your professional sphere, then this is a time you may think about seeking knowledge or developing some kind of skills through studying something. If you are not making progress in the country you are living in, this could be a time where you may look to move elsewhere for opportunities. You might want to change the city that you are living in. So it doesn't have to involve spending money. This 9th house is also about expanding your belief system. So think about any limiting beliefs that you have, which could be hindering or restricting your life. So this is a time you have to try and move away from any self-imposed restrictions and change your mindset a little bit. So that's why it's very important to look at transits from the moon, because your moon is the central command center of your thoughts, emotions, and importantly, actions. Now, the 9th house, from the 9th house, Jupiter will aspect your 5th house, and therefore it will aspect Saturn. So for those who are in a service-orientated job, so some of you may have experienced some instability in your work, or if you're struggling to find a job, this will be a time where you might find a temporary opportunity. So this is a good time. This is also a good time for those in a creative field. This transit will give you a boost because Jupiter in a water sign like Cancer will lead to a heightened sense of imagination and increased creativity in areas such as art, music, design, photography, if you work in those types of areas. So this is a much needed aspect on Saturn, because Saturn in the 5th house is not really that comfortable unless you are working in a creative area, or you have your own kind of business. The 5th house is an independent house, and one of the reasons why Saturn does not feel comfortable here is because Saturn is more of a team player rather than a leader. So that's why it's always better. That's why Saturn's always better in the 11th house, and that's why it's exalted in the 7th house. Now, because Jupiter is aspecting Saturn, you will now start to get the needed support from the difficulties that Saturn could be causing in your life. So, for example, with regards to relationships, this is a time where you can see some improvement in domestic issues, or if there are challenges with children, that area will also go through a healing phase. So overall, the 5th house matters can improve with this Jupiter aspect. So that was just a short overview of Jupiter's short transit in the sign of Cancer. I will make a more detailed video next year when Jupiter does a more complete transit into Cancer. But if you are a Scorpio moon person, let me know in the comments section, or by email how your life is going, and I'll endeavor to respond to any comments. For Sagittarius natives, Jupiter will transit into your 8th house in the sign of Cancer on the 18th of October before going retrograde back into the sign of Gemini on the 5th of December. So the 8th house is a life-changing house. It gives profound transformation. But out of all the planets, with Jupiter here, you will get the needed support to help you ease through any major challenges you may be facing. So that's always important to note. Now, Jupiter is the lord of your chart, so when it goes into the 8th house, this is a short transit of only a couple of months before it retrogrades back into Gemini. But this will be a time where you will begin to think about the next steps in your life. So some of you may feel like you've hit a rock bottom in your life where you need to change something in order to further your life. Or there can be something all of a sudden that forces you to change the direction of your life. Or something can happen which can change your thought and mindset. So I always find these transits really good for self-growth. So for example, when Jupiter was transiting my 8th house in my chart, I changed countries, which was something very beneficial for me. But the results will be different for everyone. But there will be something beneficial from the challenges. So the 8th house is a house where a person loses control of their life. So they become a little bit vulnerable. So for example, this could happen through relationships for you guys, because Jupiter is currently in your 7th house at the moment. So there is a chance some of you, if you are, in a relationship, you may have, met someone the last few months, and now you're planning to fast forward the relationship and possibly move in together. So obviously when two people start to live together for the first time, you lose a little bit of control. So just like, you move into your partner's place, you may be living under their rules. So with this 8th house Jupiter, you have to be able to adapt to a changing situation. Then, it won't be too much of a challenge. So that is the key. You have to be able to adapt. And Sagittarius being a dual sign, it's a flexible sign. So just try to embrace what comes into your path. Now, another example is you might decide to change the city or property you are living in. And when this happens, you will also lose a little bit of comfort or familiarity. And this house is also about being reborn or restarting somewhere else. So your life goes through a significant change and you are starting again, basically. But remember, this is just a short transit at the moment. So you may be just doing the preliminary work during this transit, or even if you do move in with your partner or you change where you are living, there will be adjustments that you need to make because Jupiter will go retrograde. So relationships, living location, and any arrangements will need to be rethought about. With the sign of Cancer sitting in the 8th house, the 8th house, it represents your fears and hidden emotions. So with Jupiter here, it's time for any suppressed emotions or feelings that you may have kept inside of you for many years to finally come out. So you will find comfort to release some of these things inside of you. So for example, you might talk to your partner about your upbringing, if you've had like a difficult upbringing, or you might talk to a spouse, or you might talk to a therapist. And because you are kind of releasing all of these emotions and this build up inside of you, you will begin to feel a little bit liberated. When Jupiter is in Cancer, you will feel that sense of emotional safety with any life-changing event that is happening in your life. So it's a good time to take a sensible risk. But as I mentioned, this is a short transit, so you are doing the initial work here. So that was just a short preview of, what to expect during the few months Jupiter is in Cancer. I will make a more detailed video next year, but if you are a Sagittarius moon person, let me know in the comments section how your life is going and whether you foresee any significant changes occurring in your life in the coming months. For Capricorn natives, Jupiter will transit into your 7th house in the sign of Cancer on the 18th of October, where it will be exalted before going retrograde back into your 6th house in the sign of Gemini on the 5th of December. So this is a rather short transit. So this can be a time where there can be activity in your personal life. So for example, if you're single, this can be a time where you may come across a person. But since Jupiter is only here for a couple of months, this can show a short-term relationship, or it can show meeting someone, but you might be too busy to have a full-on long-term relationship. Cancer is known for being a caring and nurturing sign, so it has a desire to look after their loved ones and create a sense of comfort and security. So when Jupiter transits here in the 7th house, this can show that it could be a period where you need to provide care to your partner. So for example, if your partner's health is poor, this is a period where you may need to look after them. And this could be if you are of a senior age. K2 is also in your 8th house, so this shows that the support in the relationship or marriage could be lacking. So it may be up to you to be the sole provider with this Jupiter and K2 position. Jupiter is aspecting Saturn and your 3rd house from its position in the 7th house. So what this means is that other people can provide you with guidance and advice in relation to any hobbies that you are undertaking. So this can also show someone teaching you or coaching you. So if you're like a young student, this can show a tutor may provide you with support in your education. If you have your own business, this can show someone assisting you or helping you start your own business. When Jupiter is aspecting the 3rd house, it means that you are mentally busy. Lots to think about, lots of decisions to make during this short transit. But at the same time, you're applying knowledge and understanding in order to cultivate judgment. Jupiter is also aspecting your 1st house. So here, this is a powerful influence where people you meet, people you come across can shape your personality, or through other people you can actually learn something or develop some kind of interest. So this is a good period to keep an open mind, network with people, and through them you can experience self-growth. So 2025 and 2026, these 2 years, I encourage you to network. As I mentioned earlier, Jupiter will aspect Saturn. So this can also show a period where you may have more responsibilities and duties in your day-to-day life or at work. So for example, this can show a time where you may pick up extra shifts leading up to Christmas. And Jupiter is aspecting your 11th house as well. So with any increase in workload, it can also increase your earnings. So that was just a short preview of what to expect during this short Jupiter transit in the sign of Cancer. I will make a more detailed video when Jupiter enters Cancer again next year. Any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section and I will endeavor to respond. For Aquarius natives, Jupiter will transit into your 6th house on the 18th of October, and this will be in the sign of Cancer. So Cancer is where Jupiter is exalted, and the 6th house is not a bad house for Jupiter to be in. It will make you busier in your day-to-day life, but only temporarily because this transit is quite short. So Jupiter will stay in Cancer for a couple of months before going retrograde back into the sign of Gemini on the 5th of December. So in October and November, your plate can be full. Now, the thing you have to be careful about here is the sign of Cancer. It doesn't really have any boundaries, so it struggles with boundaries. So even though Jupiter in Cancer, it sounds good, the reality of this transit in the 6th house is that there is a risk of taking on too much work, too many things, too many duties. So in your job, if you say yes to any additional work, it can potentially be overwhelming here. And this transit can also show a lot of kind of personal and professional things going on together. So there can be personal things which may impact your work. So it's important to define your personal space and professional space. So for example, a lot of people, they work remotely. So, you are busy that, you may have to take your work home with you. So the thing you have to be careful about here is to prevent any kind of burnout. Now, when Jupiter enters the 6th house, it can be good for your finances and assets because this transit can, obviously, if you have a increase in workload, it can potentially increase your earnings. So Jupiter is aspecting Saturn in your 2nd house. So this can show that you might find a short-term temporary opportunity. So if you don't have a job, then the energy is supporting you to get one. Or if you already have a job, then this could be an increase in responsibilities, which we just talked about, where you might be acting in a higher position. So you might be covering someone while they are away, which can potentially increase your earnings. So it's all about just finding that balance, having some boundaries, knowing how much work to take on. So even though Jupiter is only here for a couple of months in the 6th house, this is a good time to scope out the job market. So you don't actually have to change your job here, but if you feel like sometime in the next 6 to 12 months, you may look for new opportunities, this is a good time to see what is out there. This is a time to update your resume, fill out some applications, sit some interviews, and this will be beneficial for you, as you can use this as experience next year when Jupiter transits into Cancer again. This transit can also show finding a second job or a weekend job for a few months to boost your finances, because your Saturn in the 2nd house means that for many Aquarius moon sign people, you could be feeling a lack of financial security. The 6th house Jupiter shows that you need to take care of your own health, because Cancer is a very caring sign. It is a very nurturing sign. So you need to protect your overall well-being through exercise, nutrition, and attending to any health needs. So obviously this is different for everyone, but whichever area of your body is, has caused you any issues in the past or is weak, so you should try and look after it. Now, with these position of planets, here you also need to take care of your 2nd house areas and 4th house areas. So things like your senses, your eyes, your teeth, because your Saturn is in the 2nd house. So it may be causing some discomfort in these areas. So for example, you may get your eyes checked and you find out that you need spectacles or something like that. So getting eyes checked is recommended, especially if you have if you've had eyesight problems in the past. And also your 4th house areas like your heart and your chest, you have to take care of, and also your mind. So especially if you are of a senior age, so you should take care of these areas. This is a period where if you are working, you will be happy. But if you are not doing anything in your life, then you will feel moody here. So Cancer is a sign that can also make you feel moody. So it's important to have some activity in your life, which Jupiter in the 6th house, will give you. And especially with Rahu also in the 1st house, you need some kind of activity in your life. So that was just a short preview of what to expect during these few months. So Jupiter will be in the sign of Cancer for a couple of months around October and November. But I will make a more detailed video next year when Jupiter enters Cancer again next year. For Pisces natives, Jupiter will transit into your 5th house in the sign of Cancer on the 18th of October. So Jupiter is the lord of your chart. It will be in a good house and a very strong sign. So this is just a short transit of a couple of months until the 5th of December before Jupiter retrogrades back into the sign of Gemini. So you can expect some, good moments during this short period. So at the moment, if you are following transits from the moon, you will be going through Saraswati, where Saturn is transiting over your natal moon or your 1st house. But Jupiter is transiting your 4th house at the moment and will shortly move into the 5th. So both of these houses are good for Jupiter. So hopefully the effect of Saraswati is slightly lessened. If you are a Pisces moon person, let me know in the comment section how the year is going for you so far. So I know some of you will be feeling alone or isolated, or your mother's health can also be a worry, but you should be able to find some comfort in your domestic life with these Jupiter transits. Now, when Jupiter transits into the 5th house, it will aspect Saturn. So this will hopefully lift your spirits a little bit. It will bring some optimism, and in this short phase you may get some good news in whatever you're trying to achieve, because the 1st house is the house of new beginnings, or it's a house where you are on your own. So with this Jupiter aspect, there can be some positive developments or positive news in whatever your goals are. So for example, if you started a new job 6 months ago, this could be the phase where you pass your probation period, and therefore you might get a little bit of a pay rise. If you are a student, it could be that you have finally passed a difficult exam. So here, there can be some kind of small win. So you can enjoy like a small win. You can have like a small celebration. So if you do experience anything positive or any positive news during October and November, do let me know. Jupiter in the 5th house can bless you with a child. So Jupiter is exalted here in Cancer. So Cancer is an extremely caring and nurturing sign. So you may receive some good news if you have been trying to have a baby. So this can be a period where you receive the news, but when Jupiter transits Cancer again next year, that could be the period of birth. If you already have children, this can be a time where you may need to look after them. So they could be sick, or there can be something going on where, you have to provide additional support to them. So you have to take care of them. Or, there could be, some issues where you need to provide extra love and support. The 5th house, it represents fun, leisure, and pastime. So you'll be able to make progress on any hobbies that you have. So you might be able to improve your skills. And this is also good for those who have a Cancer type of business. So anything involving food or liquid. And also if you have like a restaurant, if you own a restaurant or a coffee shop, or anything involving hospitality, this transit can also be good. From the 5th house, Jupiter will aspect your 11th house. So a good time to network, meet people, and be sociable. This is a good aspect on the 11th house. If you are single, there is a chance of having a short-term relationship here. So you could potentially date someone. However, because this is a short transit, I do recommend not investing too many emotions, because Saturn is in your 1st house. So Saturn is aspecting your 7th house. So it is having an impact on your personal life. So when Jupiter does a more complete transit in the sign of Cancer, which will be next year, that would be a better phase in terms of investing emotionally in a relationship. Jupiter's transit in the 5th house will give you an injection of confidence. So you'll feel an increase in self-worth. You'll start to have some belief in yourself. And this is very much needed, especially because Saturn is transiting your 1st house. So that was just a preview of what to potentially expect during this short transit of Jupiter. I will make a more detailed video next year when Jupiter makes a fuller transit in the sign of Cancer.